So today we're looking at 7.2, finance charge on a credit card. And basically it's how do they figure out what your finance charge is. And that's what we're going to go through. We're going to do one method today. We're going to do another one tomorrow. And it's not that you guys are ever going to go home and go, I'm really going to sit down and figure this out. How do they do my finance charge on my credit card? But it's good to have the background knowledge and how they do it. You're probably never going to do this on your own. Okay. But it's good to know how they do it. So credit cards, advantages of shopping online, okay? Don't have to go to the store. All you have to do is put your stuff in the computer or your phone, send it, deliver it to your door, right? You can take advantage of sales or cheaper places to do it. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy any meals and that kind of thing. There's lots of pluses with shopping online. What we're going to do is the unpaid balance method, where the finance charge is based on the part of your bill that hasn't been paid yet. They're not worried about the part you have paid. It's the part that you haven't paid, and that's where the finance charge comes from. So on page 288, we're going to look at that charge account for Lucille. She had a previous balance of $132.40. She made a $40 payment. She also bought another item for $79.55, and the monthly finance charge is 1.5% of the unpaid balance. We're going to, first of all, determine the unpaid balance, then we'll do the finance charge, and then we'll do the new balance. Whenever I give quizzes and tests like this, if there's like multiple step questions, I kind of give you like your A, B, C, so you know kind of what you have to do. So as long as you follow those, I think you'll be okay. However, you know, sometimes the formulas are nice to have as well. So when there's formulas that are given, I will tell you that. So on page 288, very partial bill that they show, they've basically given us the information that I've already told you. So it just looks more like a statement than in a paragraph. So the unpaid balance is what was your balance before, subtract the payment out. So we're going to take $132.40 and we're going to subtract $40 out of there. They're not going to charge you a finance charge on the payment that you made because that gets taken out first, and then they're going to charge you a finance charge on what you have left. So $132.40 minus 40, $92.40. So we're also not worried about the purchases that they made. Generally, the purchases you make, you kind of have that grace period within that bill. If it's something that suddenly just came into that and hasn't been from the previous bill, they usually carry it over and do that one the next time. So they give you a chance to pay for that whole $79.55 without being finance charged until the next time. So it's only the old purchases that were made. So we're going to take that $92.40 and multiply it times 1.5%, which was the percentage given. $1.39. And then at the end, you're kind of doing what you guys did yesterday. So we're going to take either the beginning balance, subtract out the payment again. I always start with this one, the unpaid balance, so I don't have to do that again. So I'm going to just draw an arrow down here. So $92.40. Finance charges are kind of like service charges. They always get added in. So I'm going to add in $1.39. And I'm also going to add in those new purchases that they made for $79.55. So even though they're going to show you taking $132.40 and subtracting 40 out of there, we kind of already have done that, so I'm not going to do it again. So I'm just using that unpaid balance. I'm adding in the purchases and adding in the finance charge. $173.34. So the next month, they're going to get a finance charge on the $79.55 if they didn't pay that, okay, which we don't know what they're going to do at this point. Now, example 2 is a little bit trickier. So we're going to do this one, and then we're going to turn around and do number 3 together. And if we need to, we'll do 4 as well. So those are the hardest ones of the section. So this one is kind of like that one, but it kind of depends on what you're given too. Roy's charge account uses the unpaid balance method to compute the finance charge at a monthly periodic rate of 1.75. So they're not always going to do 1.5. Sometimes it'll be 1.75. Sometimes it'll be 2. It just depends on the store. During the month, he charged $156.89. So that's a new purchase. $200 payment, so we're going to take that out. And he also had a $9.90 finance charge, which will be added in. So the first one, what happens is we don't know what his previous balance was, so we need to figure that out. But they did give us numbers that we can use to find that. So the finance charge was $9.90. I'm going to put that one on the left side. We don't know what this unpaid balance is, but we do know that the rate is 1.75%. So we have to divide those to find out what that unpaid balance was. 565.71. Then I kind of put the formulas in here too, and I can leave this one up when we're doing, when you guys are doing number 4 if you want to. The previous balance is the unpaid balance. That's what we just found, so we're going to put that right in here. 565.71. We don't know the previous balance, but we do know the payments and the credits. So as long as you're only missing one thing, you can always find what you need. I'm going to subtract out the payment, 200. And I'm going to subtract out any credits that they had, which there weren't any. So I'm just going to erase that part. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 200 to that. So 765.71. And then we can go back and follow that original formula, which you might want to put at the top of your page as well. New balance is what we're looking for. We should have numbers to fill in for all the rest. So the unpaid balance was 565.71. The finance charge was $9.90. The new purchases were $156.89. $732.50. So that one definitely a lot harder than the others. I think the formulas are given for you on this test, especially for problems like this. There's probably not going to be a huge amount of problems like this. They'll be more like the other one that we just did, but there could be one, so you need formulas. I did want to go through one other thing that I talked about yesterday. Remember when I talked about the if you just pay the minimum payment, how long will it take you to pay it off? Okay, I found a site for that yesterday, so I'm going to just do one really quick. Okay, I didn't save it. Okay, so we're going to do $10,000. So let's say you had a credit card that you could charge $10,000. That's how much you owed. Your percentage is 26%, because a lot of times they're anywhere from 26 to 30%, which is kind of a lot. So I have 26% in there. The minimum payment is 4% of that total. It's going to take you 14 years, 8 months to pay that off. If you've charged, like if you maxed out your credit card and only paid the minimum every single time. Can you imagine that? So $10,000 probably seems like kind of a lot, plus the other payments that you have. But can you imagine that taking 14 years and 8 months to pay off? That's a long time. So whenever you're trying to figure out, should I do this on a credit card or not, you can look this up anytime. All I looked up was minimum payment credit card calculator or something like that. You can put in any numbers, any percents. It'll tell you how much and how long it'll take. So it's going to be 14 years, 8 months. Let's say I do $3,000. Same thing. And this is like if you make a monthly payment of $200, 3,000 will take you 12 years, 4 months. So that's like $7,000 less. But it's going to take you that long if you're only making, because the minimum payments are going to be smaller. So kind of interesting. And on that one, like if you have $3,000 charged on a credit card, you're going to be paying them $6,273. So it's going to be more than double by the time you're done paying. That's kind of a big deal. So it also kind of shows you some other things too. You can have you can put in more than one credit card, like if you have a Shields and a regular Visa and then another like department store one. If you have money on all of those, you can put all of them in at the same time, and it'll show you if you only make minimum payments, how long will it take you to pay. So kind of interesting, and if you have a scenario there that you can put in, it makes it kind of real because it's like, oh, I'll just make the minimum payment, but you're only making minimum payments toward the interest. You're not making any payments to what you actually owe. So you're just giving them your money. So pay attention to that and be aware. So now let's do number 3. So you guys go ahead and do this one first. And again, this is one of the longer ones, so we'll kind of do it together. So Omar has a credit card that uses the unpaid balance method to compute the finance charge. His monthly periodic rate is 2.4%. I'm just going to jot a few things down. You don't have to write this yet. He charged a total of $256.28. Payments $350. Finance charge $18.28. So we want the unpaid balance first. So when you are looking at that one, we don't have where they started at all. The only thing we have is that finance charge, and we know that that's a certain percentage of the total that they owe. So we're going to kind of do the same thing as we did before. So $18.28 is going to be equal to some number times 2.4%. Now you can use the abbreviations for what you're looking for if you want to. I'm just going to put X, or you could do unpaid balance there, UB. Whatever you want to do is fine. So $18.28 divided by 2.4%. I got $761.67. Part B says previous balance. So for the previous balance, we're going to take that unpaid balance that we just did. We don't know what the previous balance was, but we do know that they made a payment of $350. So the unpaid balance is what we have left after a payment has been made. That's why we have that minus 350 there. So let's add 350. $1,111.67. And then see, we kind of have to put it all back together. So unpaid balance plus finance charge, which was $18.28, plus any purchases that were made, $256.28. Now that last one you can actually find it using that previous balance too, and you would have to subtract out that payment from it. So what I was saying there is you could start with that previous balance if that makes more sense. You'd owe $1,111.67. You're going to subtract out the payment like you always do. You're going to add in the finance charge and add in any purchases. So if it doesn't make sense to you to just use the unpaid balance, you can start with that beginning number, subtract out the payment, add in the finance charge, add in the purchases, and do that same thing every time. I've just split it into two, and I don't like doing that payment twice. So I always just use that unpaid balance. So that was your number 3.